Come on.
I know.
Get him. Get him.
You gotta get the Aztec side.
Yeah, you gotta get the Aztec shot. Hey, look, here we are at the Aztec Hotel in Monrovia. World famous.
Oh, I can't even see me.
Hey,
Do you think I should? Hey.
Now you could yourself.
I know.
Well, it looks like
Should I sit there?
if you want. There you go.
Do I had to find the person I'd become? You should go back home, go back home, go back home, go. Just been there all along. You should go back home, go back home, go back home, go. That's where you belong.
In the shot, I mean, I could do that. Yeah, there's no AC up here.
Being red. And all of the rooms, all of the 36 rooms were painted a different color back in 1925. So you had, I think there were probably 8 different pictures of the rooms. And you'll see an example of what they call jazz plastering. That was one of the
Ghost rooms. Yeah. I'm going. Wait, you okay? Yeah, let's go. We found them anyways.
But they were made to be just like
Oh my God.
So these are the way they were originally, which was a big improvement to what was there, which was aluminum, Home Depot, sliding glass.
That I was further from the truth. In the dark and stormy night, rolling thunder, flashing light, heard a whisper in the night, and it said.
Famous one you see online when they talk about if you look up the ghost stories at the Aztec, there's the story of Razzle Dazzle in room 120. This is room 120. And I will tell you that there's no truth to the ghost story about Razzle Dazzle. Everything I say has a caveat. Story goes, and this story started with there was an article in the LA Times 1999, Cecilia Rasmussen, and I believe the woman's name was Cynthia Ortega, was a psychic that they had brought in and to do a ghost walkthrough. And so she came up with this story about this woman named Razzle Dazzle and gave her the name Razzle Dazzle. The ghost story backing up, that's around the same time. That's when the ghost stories about the Aztec Hotel moved from just whisper campaign to actually appearing in book form, print form, starting to get out into the mass media about it. Now, the original story was that just a woman died in here. And however, this Ortega psychic, she came up with this incredible story. There used to be a radiator right here. And the story goes is that the speakeasy was in the basement and that's where the prostitutes worked from. And she met a John. She brought him up to this room. They got into a fight over her fee. And he roughed her up and shoved her. She hit her head fatally on the radiator, and then he just left her there to die. And that's the story of Razzle Dazzle. Okay, and this was supposed to be during Prohibition in the 1920s. Well, no such thing in the newspapers. That's something you couldn't keep out of the newspapers. Not in Monrovia. Never happened. What's interesting is she came up with the name of Razzle Dazzle. I did find something interesting. A block away is a Buddhist temple. It used to be the Elks Lodge, and the Elks in 1928 did party here a lot. And because while that was under construction, this was their home base for socializing. They did hold card games once a month called Razzle Dazzles. Now, she would not have, Ortega would not have known that. Nobody knew that. So I thought, okay, so there's no prostitute named Razzle Dazzle, but the ghost story has to do with a party, an illegal party downstairs, and you know, shenanigans coming upstairs. Now, is there proof that there was prostitution here in the 1920s? Probably not rampant. In the 1940s, it was rampant. What happened is, you know, once Pearl Harbor happened and the United States entered war, they closed down Santa Anita Park and turned it into a Japanese intern camp throughout the remainder of the war. So how was a hotel like this that depended on racetrack money to keep going, how were they going to survive? So prostitution was one of them. And is it Marchfield? No, that's Riverside. The airstrip here, the local airstrip that was military run, they actually told their servicemen they weren't allowed to set foot in the Aztec during the 40s and 50s because it had gotten so bad. Now let's talk about another exciting urban legend. This one I love. At one point I was talking frequently with the guy that ran a Route 66 organization, and we both independently came across the same story. But one of the stories, and it's a long forgotten story, is that a Japanese firebomb hit this building and set it on fire in the 40s, and that Monrovia kept it hush-hush for fear of starting a panic.
That would have been from a balloon, right?
Yeah. If that were true, this would have been the only place hit by a firebomb. And how the heck? I mean, most of the firebombs, because of the jet streams, it was nowhere near Southern California. It was all upper and northern. And why Monroe? I mean, going over Santa Monica, going over the mountains, and then up in Monrovia. So I find it hard to believe, except one thing that is puzzled me. I talked to some owners, and they found charred wood. There was a fire on the roof from some point that was never reported. So that's the mystery we're still trying to figure out about the fire, the mysterious fire here. But I love that story about the talk about a curse. I mean, it just piles it on all the talk about this place being cursed. Now, Nellie Jameson did die in this hotel, and she died around 1950. She's buried in the local Monrovia cemetery. Her sons, whose last names were Haney, ran the property. One of them died young as well, and the other one leased it out in the 50s to another guy who dropped dead of a heart attack in the hotel in the 50s. He died not long after he was arrested by the police for having pinball machines. It was like a vice raid, and that was considered underworld.
Oh, wow.
That was mafia-owned and controlled gaming machines. And they found him in one of the cocktail lounges. He was arrested, bail within like 2 months. He drops dead of a heart attack inside the hotel. His wife took over and ran it till 1960. Then she turned it over back to the Haney, the son of Nellie Jameson, who ran it for a while. Now, one of the ghost stories has to do with downstairs. And is it too hot in here? We can turn on the air. We won't stay here too much longer. Is everyone? If anyone wants to hear something, just let me repeat it again. What's this? Is it open? Yeah.
Ghost!
Yay!
No. This door, up until recently, all of these doors were sealed. So when I would stay here and do my little paranormal investigations, this was the crappiest room ever.
Yeah.
I will say, there were some weird things that happened to me in here, just to get back on track. It's not the ghost of a prostitute, okay? It's more of it's like male and female that comes and goes out of here. And my favorite story, you want to hear my favorite story?
Yes.
We want to hear it.
This was towards the end of my stay here. In fact, it might have been the last night I stayed here, overnight. I stayed here all the time. I had done a paranormal walkthrough till like 4 in the morning, and I had access. I could go in any place I wanted to, as long as no one was like sleeping there, you know. And so I'd just done a room investigation in a room where someone had supposedly died, you know, back in 1999 or so. So I come back, I'm tired, I'm alone, and I just put, over here was where the dresser was, so I just set everything on the dresser, didn't dare take off my clothes in this ratty bed. So I just plopped on top of it and just fell asleep for a few hours, and then I would check out and just drive back to Glendale, you know. So I did that. I woke up about 8:30 because I can't sleep with a flip in a haunted room. And so I got up, and so I'm packing up all my gear, and I can't find the key to this room at all. And so, and you see this room, it's tiny. So I went through everything, couldn't find the key. So I went back to the front desk, and I said, can I have the key to all the other places I was in? So I backtracked, went everywhere, no key. And then I went back, and I said, I know I got to check out. I just want you to know I can't find the key. And the guy was like, what do you mean? That's the only key to the room we have. And I said, well, it's my fault. I'm terribly sorry. I don't know what happened. I lost the key. I wasn't going to blame it on a ghost, but I was thinking that. But I had a recorder on my dresser all night long. So I'm like going, I wonder, did I use my key to open the door, you know, and did someone enter the room during the 3 hours that I was sleeping and take the key? So I went home and listened. Sure enough, I hear my key going in the door.
What?
No one came into the room the entire time. So they wouldn't, I said, I'll pay for a locksmith, I'll pay for everything if you just, you know, let me know what the bill is. They said, no, you're a friend, we're not going to do that. So, so I went back, you know, a week later, and I said, did you find the key? And they said, no, we took everything out of the room, put it back. There's no sign of the key. Well, the owner lost the hotel. It was foreclosed upon, and receivers had moved in. So only a few employees were kept on during the change. And they just kept the room unlocked. And if you rented it, they just said, well, you can stay here, but there's no key.
Wow.
I get a text 6 months later from an employee going, someone's staying here. 6 months later, checked out, and they had found the key in the room.
Wow.
And they turned it in.
Wow.
Now
That is wild.
that's impossible.
Yeah.
Did they say where? Where they found it? No.
No.
Who's the person?
I don't know the name of the person that told me. I'd have to look up her name.
No, the person
Oh.
found it.
Yeah.
It's just some
Wow.
person, just some random person staying here. Other stories. One of my favorite stories about this place was that there was a guy who don't want to be around anybody. I want them quiet. And so storage, open room. So he went, okay, we'll just put you in here. So he puts in the room, and about midnight he comes down the stairs and said, he's all excited. And he goes, I wanted a quiet room. And he said, you know, and they said, what's the problem? They said, there's a couple fighting inside my room. I got scared, woke me up, I got scared, and I just ran out. And he said, you didn't flip on the light? No, I didn't know what they were fighting in the room, a man and a woman arguing. So they didn't tell him it was haunted. They just said, well, let's go back up and let's take a look. And so they went in, and nothing's been disturbed. So they go, I'll tell you what, we'll put you just in another room. So he never knew he had been in a haunted room. They never told him. They just moved. They just did a dead move. You know, but they said it's impossible. No one was around in this part. And I thought, well, how do you run out of a room without aren't you curious to know him? But I have picked up an argument in this room myself on recordings between a man and a woman.
Wow.
But the weirdest thing that happened, was not too far from the missing key. And in the basement, I had a recorder earlier in the year, and it picked up this strange stringed instrument plunk, 2 strings, just dun-dun, and that's it. And there's so much garbage in there, I thought, it's rat. I knew there were rats down there, and I thought, But I kept looking for stringed instruments, and I never could find a stringed instrument. I'd find instruments, but they didn't have strings, you know. No stringed instruments of any kind. And I thought, okay, I'll just set it aside. One night, I'm sleeping in this room, and I just got a recorder on and humming 4 notes. The 2 notes in the humming match the 2 notes of the string instrument in the basement. Not only in pitch, but in tempo as well. So when I put that, I said, this sounds familiar. I want to put them together. So I did that in the audition. You can't tell them apart. It's the same speed. Same speed, same tempo. So I'm going, ooh, that's weird. It was an AGED, because I know music. I can read music. So it was the notes were an AGED. I'd love to know what that tune is, but so I think there's a musical connection here. And so a lot of these rooms have stories, okay? Not just this one. But this one does have quite a few stories. Unfortunately, the radiator's gone, but maybe that's a good thing, because there was no woman that hit her head. The other version is that they were a couple on their honeymoon, and while lovemaking, she falls off. That's like,
Wow.
how do you do that? I've seen those radiators. How do you die that suddenly? I mean, you know, it's hard enough to imagine being smacked around and beat around, and then you'd have to almost be like that to kill someone. I mean, it's just not. It would be a freak accident. So,
Oh my God.
I don't know what the stories are going to be like after this, once it reopens, but I'm anxious to find out. But at least now,
Wait, you hit your head
know,
on
if you rent the
Looks
room
like you
next
hit your
door,
head on
Yeah,
at
we
least
were
you can run out.
trying to
into the
recreate.
room.
Are there
Trying to
plans
recreate
to
Razzle
reopen?
Dazzle.
Yes. Yes. I would love, eventually, I've been trying to talk them into maybe doing different themed rooms. Like have a cowboy room. I always say the Laurel and Hardy room, because this is like the Laurel room and it connects to a much wider room. It could be the Hardy. You know, this was obviously just a bedroom, space just enough for a twin bed.
But they are serious about reopening.
They are serious about reopening now.
Do they have a year or a date or anything in mind, or?
Oh no, they're right now. I think they're working on a business plan before it'll get approved. But they still have their permit. I believe.
Oh, I wonder if it's like a.
It's a barber shop.
Oh, it is a working barber shop.
You should go back home, go back home.
Whatever this is.
Okay, go.
Are you sure you're cutting off my head? All right, we're at Great Maple in Pasadena. Hey. And I got the blood orange margarita. Obviously with blood orange in it. So I'm gonna try it out. Let's see how it is. Oh yeah. A little piece of lime. It's good. Very yummy. I mean, it has a slight taste of still a blood orange. It's not like overpowering. It's still like margarita and a little bit of the blood orange. It's good. Well, this was done so for cheap.